head down to our next speaker, which is going to be my dear friend, Currey Cook, mentor, ally extraordinaire, maybe the nicest person you'll ever meet, and just also patience for everything. So really grateful to have you here. Curry's given me a lot of opportunities, and I would honestly probably not be able to do this event if it hasn't been some of the experiences I've had with Curry and others, just trying to make things happen. So thank you, Curry, for being here, and let's hear what you have to share with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elliot. This is just hearing everybody talk about what they do, even though I know a lot of the folks who are on, just kind of hearing it all at the same time and hearing what everybody's doing in their own way, just really is inspirational. And I think it's so great that in the midst of everything, you have this idea to kind of have a day focused on joy and support for LGBTQ plus youth and families. As Elliot said, my name is Currey Cook. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm senior counsel and director of the Youth and Out of Home Care Project at Lambda Legal. And that is the mouthful that we use to describe the advocacy that we do for and with LGBTQ plus youth and youth living with HIV that are involved in all kinds of government systems, including foster care, the juvenile legal system, youth experiencing homelessness, young people who are involved in immigration proceedings, and young people who may be out of home or receiving services related to engaging in survival sex, falling under the federal definition of trafficking. We also have done a lot of advocacy over the years on behalf of parents and kin and foster parents who are LGBTQ plus that have been trying to engage in the foster care system and have faced discrimination. As you all probably know, Lambda Legal is the oldest, we're now just turned 50 last year, legal organization that advocates for equality for LGBTQ plus people and everyone living with HIV. We our very origins and kind of harkening back to and foreshadowing, I guess, some of the fights we're having today had to fight for our own right to be a nonprofit and exist at the very beginning. So these days, while now that is apparently a tactic again to challenge people's nonprofit status, to silence their voice. That was our very origin at Lambda. We've been a part of the fight for equality in many ways in the courts. We also do a lot of policy advocacy and education work. We've been a part of pivotal decisions in the courts over the years, including the Obergefell case, which we celebrated the 10th anniversary of marriage equality being the law of the land yesterday. We were also a co-counsel in the Scarametti case, which was a terrible decision and really harmful to trans youth and their families across the country trying to access medical care. It was a narrow decision, so we have plenty of fight left to fight and plenty of arguments yet to make. So while it was really painful last week hearing justices deny care for kids and knowing the impact that it's going to have in the states that have state bans, know that we're going to keep fighting and we have a lot left to say and we have tons of arguments still to make before the courts, including the Supreme Court. We, at the moment, have a ton of lawsuits challenging various things that the current administration is doing and challenging so many of the awful anti-LGBTQ state laws that were passed in the last 5 years. But we're also doing a ton of work within some of these systems to really make sure that they serve LGBTQ young people better and do better. Um, I really want to center the rest of my remarks around just the progress that I have seen personally, mainly in the area of LGBTQ young people who have been involved in systems like the juvenile legal system and foster care, experiencing homelessness, being advocates for change and prevention of being involved in the system. I first started representing kids in, excuse me, the noise, juvenile and family court, 25 years ago, I guess now. And I came out when I was already a professional working in the systems. And at that time, when I was in Anchorage, Alaska, I was the only out person that was working in the system as a lawyer or judge or social worker. And it was a little scary at the time because there wasn't much out there, a lot of support. But what I did turn to was resources that Lambda Legal had put out, um, with others sharing the experiences of young people. One of the very first things that was out there focusing on LGBTQ young people in foster care was a report actually lifting up the voices and experiences of young people in care. At that time, it was through focus groups. Um, and then sharing information anonymously about experiences, because that's what was safe at the time. Um, but just last year, when we were working on comment in support of the first ever federal regulation enshrining in federal law protections for LGBTQ youth and requiring that state foster care agencies have a designated placement that supports them, I had a chance to look back over the years and capture all of the instances where LGBTQ youth, whether it was in focus groups, whether it was in testimony, whether it was in reports, had lifted up their experience and made a call for change and for the foster care system, for example, to do better. And that has made just an enormous difference. It went from very few people being out as professionals in the system, very few young people feeling safe to be out, to a system where you're hearing today, like so many adults who are working with young people who are system involved or queer themselves or allies. And then so many young people like Elliot who have had experience within systems that are making change and leading policy discussions and doing trainings and hosting events. And I can't even tell you the difference that I've seen that make in the last 5 to 10 years. It used to be that if you ask a room full of people working with young people in systems, if they've been working with an LGBTQ youth, about 4 or 5 people would be brave enough to raise their hands. And now everybody does. And that really speaks to the bravery of young people who, in spite of everything that's been happening in attacks in the last 4 to 5 years, have enough safety and support and are seeing enough change in our society as a whole that they are being themselves. And that is changing everything. You don't have resistance from people now when we come to them and say, you need policy and you need training and you need to do better for this population. There's always a few, of course, but the vast majority of them are really like, yes, we see them, we need information, we need resources, we need support. And that's what I hope you all are seeing today, that so many people are out there to support and to affirm and to lift up young people. Um, I just want to mention a couple of specific things that we've done with some of the folks who are on this call, really to lift up the voices of trans and non-binary youth who are system involved. Back in 2017, with Children's Rights and the Center for the Study of Social Policy, we put out a groundbreaking report called Safe Havens, focusing on trans and gender diverse youth who were system involved. And it was really the first time that we gathered up where federal child welfare or juvenile justice laws protecting youth experiencing homelessness included explicit protections for young people, and whether there existed protections or not at the state level in laws specific to these systems and agency policies. Of course, a lot had happened since 2017. So last year we put out an update to that report, and we'll put the link in the chat. And we were really thrilled that Elliot joined us as a co-author with CSSP and Children's Rights. And most importantly, we had 7 trans or non-binary young people with lived experience who were contributors to the report and did video interviews with Elliot. And it was amazing to see both the advocates they are now and have become in their communities, but also to see that even though they all had significant challenges in their lives, they also had support, and what a difference just one adult had made for them in terms of support in their lives. And so I think that really speaks to what we've heard some other people who have spoken today talk about the power that we do have. And even though the onslaught of awful laws and executive orders and policies that we're seeing today just knowing that you as an individual can exert a lot of power and make such a difference just being there and standing up for an LGBTQ plus young person, I think does take the power back and show that we have a lot of power. And also using whatever power or privilege or platform you have to make sure that young people are at the table and that they're supported and safe if they want to be out there advocating right now, that they're able to do that. Um, we at the upcoming National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges are doing a general session, a plenary session with Elliot and some of our youth contributors from Safe Havens to family and juvenile court judges and advocates and probation officers, professionals out there in the field. And I couldn't think of a more important time for them to be hearing and seeing trans, non-binary, and gender diverse youth. The human beings that they are, the things that they're doing, the contributions, and to, I think, in the coverage of Scrimetti last week, what was so lost to me was the voices of trans and non-binary youth and how the healthcare, including mental health care that they've received, has made such a difference in their lives and is allowing them to thrive and do well. So I'm so excited that we've had this event today, where we can celebrate all the work to lift up and support LGBTQ plus youth and families. And I'm really proud of the work that Lambda Legal has done over the years, focusing on LGBTQ youth. And over the past 4 or 5 years, a lot of brave young people and their families have been the ones who have been litigants. They've been plaintiffs in these cases, challenging anti-LGBTQ laws. And that takes a whole lot of bravery of willing to be out there at this time, standing up for your rights. And notably in some of our litigation where youth and families have filed declarations or they've testified in front of judges, that's what really has made the difference, is hearing from them directly about their experiences and what they need and what the world should look like. So if I think back on when I started being a lawyer for kids in systems 25 years ago, it's such a different world, and young people being out and professionals that are stepping up. And in spite of everything that's happening, I think that's like the genie that can't be put back in the bottle. And even though a lot of what's happening now is really harmful, I think it's a sign of fear and reaction to what a difference it's making, the visibility and the power that people have now and the presence and difference they're making in the world. So that's what gives me hope these days in the midst of all of this. And I really appreciate the chance to be here today and share a little bit about our work at Lambda Legal and to be in this space with you all today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Curry. Real quick, what do you do for joy that doesn't have anything to do with your work?
I travel. I love to travel. I
Yes.
think anybody that knows me knows how much I love to travel. In fact, I'm heading to the airport in about 30 minutes. So I'm really excited to be taking a little bit of break. And I also love photography. So, and the two go hand in hand. So I plan to take a lot of pictures and enjoy some travel real soon.
Yeah, where are you going, Curry? Now we all want to know.
I am going to Italy and Spain.
Oh
So
my gosh, I love it.
yeah, yeah,
Amazing. And I
I
don't think I've
know.
seen much of your photography, so like we need to have a
Yeah,
moment to see some
I
of
know,
that.
I know. I need to do better on Instagram, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for hopping on and for being here today. I really appreciate it, Curry, and the support of Lambda Legal as well and all this work. So thanks for all you all do.